Good evening. Welcome to this edition of the Rocky Mount Chamber Buzz. I am the Vice Chairman of Economic Development, David Joyner, and this broadcast is brought to you by our Chairman and the wonderful business of Roger G. Taylor and Associates. Today we have an exciting show for you. We're going to be speaking with Mr. Victor Hinnant and Ms. Sharon Williams about the Prison Reentry Program. This is a program I'm sure many of you may not be familiar with, but this is a state-funded organization that reaches out to former offenders to try to get them reintegrated into the workforce and offers support to businesses to do so. From an economic development standpoint, we believe this is vital for our community, and we're excited to have Victor and Sharon here today. Welcome.
Thank you.
How you doing?
First of all, why don't you just tell people, both of you, what is this program exactly? Because I'm sure many of our viewers are not familiar with it.
Okay. The Former Offender Initiative is a program set up not only to help individuals reintegrate into the community after leaving incarceration, but it's also set up to involve community partners in providing all the resources necessary to maintain and reduce recidivism in the prisons. A lot of times when people get out, they have a lot more need than just a job. They probably need housing, transportation, something as basic as food. Mm-hmm. And so we get together and we assess the needs for the people to be successful in the community. We look at what their background is, and we determine from their background and their qualifications how best we can achieve their goals.
Okay, so one question, when you say former offender, is it any former offender, or are there certain criteria of former offenders that you will work with?
Any person with any kind of criminal background that's
Okay.
causing them some barriers to employment or being self-sustainable.
Okay, and this is, just for our viewers, this is under the Commerce Department, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
Department of Commerce.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just think that's especially, great for our viewers to know, with this kind of being more, the business community, for them to understand this is something that the Commerce Department for the state thinks is important to be able to do. And you're the regional officer.
I'm the regional former offender specialist. There's 6 of us
Okay.
throughout the state, and we handle several. Almost every county in the state. We involve ourselves with all the business partners, all the community partners in the state.
Okay. And Sharon, you work more at the local level, correct?
Yes, I'm in the Rocky Mount, or the Edgecombe Nash NC Works Career Center. Our office has moved to Brattleboro, and I'm in the local office. When people call, a lot of times they'll just walk in, but everything is done by an appointment, because there are certain things that they have to have when they come into the office.
Such as?
They have to have a picture ID, and I want to know where they've been looking for work the past 2 weeks, what their background is, if they have a resume, and if they don't have a resume, of course I can assist them in obtaining a resume, because if you are charged with larceny, you can't very well go and work in a convenience store. So I want to see what type of jobs that they've been looking for, so I can help steer them on the correct path to finding employment.
So let's walk our viewers back a second. So when someone is in the system, the justice system, in that regard, how are they encouraged to make contact with you all? Where does that conversation start with them to want to be able to see that there's the support when they get out?
There's various avenues for them to receive information. At this time, the Department of Public Safety is revamping their reentry program and providing resources before their release. Mm-hmm. That's happening in local facilities as well as state facilities. There are a lot of partners, including the community college, that go in and kind of inform them and to provide for them resources so they can reintegrate. Once they're released, then they're told, in terms of finding employment, to go to their local career center.
Okay.
At that time, they'll have a variety of partners collected in those career centers who cover everything from education and employment and job skills assessments and those kinds of things.
Right. And so Sharon, on the local level, what do you kind of encounter, or the challenges or the situations that you run across to be able to help in our local community?
Well, a lot of it is by word of mouth and people going on the website, or moms or girlfriends, or even the former offender themselves will call and say, I can't find a job, I need some help, or they'll say, I was told that you could get me a job. So when they call, then I set up an appointment and tell them what they need, then come in, and the first thing to do is assess, because everybody's saying they want a job, but they might not be ready for a job. There might be some substance abuse, there might be various addictions, or that they might need housing. I first assess to see what they need, and then we go from there as far as looking for employment.
And in both of your experience, are a lot of the individuals, is this their first time ever having a job, or is it that they've had one before?
In many cases, one of the myths for reentry is those people in all economic backgrounds are sometimes in the justice system.
Absolutely.
Some of them have stellar career experiences, education, and levels. We kind of assume that a lot of folks that come for resources from us are of limited skills, but no, that's not the case. So that's why the assessment is necessary, because we can determine from the assessment what level they are in their and they're going to find jobs. So we have to determine from what we see when we're sitting in front of the individual what's the best avenue. I've had individuals come to me, for example, and they were job ready in my assessment, and all I needed to do was call an employer or encourage an employer to give this person an opportunity for employment.
Well, I think that's an interesting point you bring up, because there is a stigma there, and I'm glad we're doing this broadcast to kind of talk about it. And I'm sure that stigma is in a lot of the business community, that maybe a lot of offenders are low skilled, or or it would be dangerous to have them in your workplace. But when you see nationally now, there's a big push for criminal justice reform, and especially with drug offenders. And I think there's a bipartisan approach, feel in Congress at least, that hey, maybe we got this wrong, but we need to go back and relook at this. Why do you think this is a program that's even important for the economic outlook for our state?
Well, you're looking at 5 million people who are involved in justice involved in this country. And if you're talking about taxpayer dollars, if you have 5 million people with barriers to employment, then that is a burden on the tax base. As a result of that, we have to look at the individual cost. I was reading somewhere where all the states collectively spend about over $48 billion for incarceration of people in the system.
Wow.
That's taxpayer dollars. So we're trying our best to get those individuals who would be inclined to take another path, a more positive path. We're trying to open that path for them. And that will reduce the tax base, and that will reduce the cost of doing business. That will increase the economic viability of this country. So we need that. We need it tremendously. We need to get those folks back to work.
Okay.
Now also, employers are missing out on very skilled employees. I mean, these are skilled, majority of them are skilled. So they're missing out on skilled labor. They have to do very little training for these employees.
And at the local level, are you saying that there is a good, are people, businesses receptive to it, is I guess I should say? Do you feel like the community is receptive to it?
The community is coming around. Employers are coming around. We don't have as many as we need, but they are slowly coming around.
Okay, well then, because in our next segment, when we get back, we'll talk specifically about how businesses can work with you and give people essentially a second chance. And so when we come back from this break, we'll have more with Victor Hinnant and Sharon Williams about this, I think, really important program for the state of North Carolina, and especially for our community. And we'll be right back after this message. Welcome back to this edition of the Chamber Buzz. Again, I'm David Joyner, the Vice Chairman of Economic Development for the Rocky Mount Chamber. I also work with the DoubleTree by Hilton, Comfort Inn by Choice, and Gateway Convention Center here in Rocky Mount. This broadcast is brought to you by Roger Taylor with Roger G. Taylor and Associates, the Chairman of our Chamber Board of Executives. We're back with Victor Hinnant and Sharon Williams talking about the prison reentry. Is that I'm saying that correct? Prison reentry program. And then our first segment, we talked about why this is important. This is supported by the Commerce Department. This is proven to be vital for rehabilitation, if you will, and getting offenders back into the workforce. And you highlighted on some points of it actually working on past, people's, preconceived notions that they are low-skilled labor and that type of thing. So to segue, we're going into how businesses can get involved and how businesses can work with you, because that's the point of this, correct? It's for businesses, and especially we're talking local in our local community, to be able to, maybe, sit down and at least have the conversation that we can, maybe hire people that we may not have hired before, or we may have had a stigma we felt attached to hiring somebody that had been in the criminal justice system. The federal bonding initiative. Yes. Can you go into that, please, and explain it to our viewers?
Well, federal bonding is an insurance policy, for lack of a better word, and we offer it to employers who might be inclined to hire someone but are afraid of some of the economic risks to hiring a person, especially someone who may have had a history of dishonesty or drug abuse or that kind of thing. And so we offer them a $5,000 bond for 6 months with no cost to the employer or to the potential employee. At the end of that 6 months that we cover them, they can also, if they choose to continue the bond at a lower rate, they can also go with that same insurance company for a lower rate.
So it's essentially protection for the business.
Yes,
They're getting support to essentially give these people a chance, correct?
Exactly. So what we're asking them to give, first of all, to hire experienced, skilled labor. But if they have a background that gives them any kind of concerns, then we will provide that kind of protection for them, so those people can prove that their integrity is in place.
Well, and I think that's actually innovative and incredible, and I'm sure most of our community, I included myself before I got to know Victor, was ignorant to that fact, because even when he explained it to me, that there is support, because there is the reality is people, because of the stigma attached to it, and some of it, in fairness, rightfully so, that people are going to have a fear of hiring someone that has a label that they were a offender. But as you pointed out, there's a lot of people in the state of North Carolina and nationally at some point or another of all stripes and backgrounds that have been involved in the justice system. Whether it was a small petty crime to something when they were a teenager, or a mistake they made as an adult. So this is this program really is kind of making the case this is better for our society and the economic community, for you to be able to give these people a chance, and you get support right from the beginning from the state.
And on the local level here in the local area, if anyone is interested or need more information on it, they can contact me at the NC Works Career Center for more information, to what is involved with the federal bond.
And so give you an example, just to give our viewers an example. If a business, say, hey, I want to get involved with this, and say like contracting companies, and those we have projects that come in the area and they need some quick labor fast for an extended period of time. How would they go about the process if they wanted to work with you all?
First, they will have to have offered employment to the person. The only thing stopping that person from becoming hired with that company is they have to be bonded. At that point, the employer said, I need to get this person bonded, I want to hire them. Then they contact me. It takes about 10 minutes to do the paperwork. I send information to the Department of Commerce, and the bond goes to the employer. So it does not cost the employer or the employee anything.
And the Career Center is employee friendly.
Okay.
So if you have contracted agencies or companies that need workforce, that's what we're there for.
Okay.
We'll even provide a space for them to interview folks if they're not stable. If they're not wanting to go to their place or their corporate office is far away. Any kind of businesses that start up in this region or in this area, and they're looking for a workforce while they're building their property or developing their business, they can come to the employment office and use our facilities to facilitate that. They will tell us the criteria, and we'll make sure that the individuals and applicants that come to interview meet their criteria based on what they've written down. and we'll make recommendations from people that we already had contact with.
Okay.
So that
So it's almost like pre-screened.
it's pre-screened.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have what we call NC Works, and that provides a resource for employers to tap into our employment base, and they can also look into NC Works.
And can you, and I am familiar with NC Works, but can you, talk about NC Works for a minute and kind of explain to people what that is?
Okay, NC Works Online, that's our online data system. Employees have listed jobs with us. They are on NC Works Online. Their jobs are listed two ways. One is if an employee calls an employment office or NC Works Career Center and says, I want to list a job, they give us the criteria. We will manually input it, or they can go online and do it themselves.
Okay.
So they can either call us or send the information to us, or put the information in themselves. And the jobs are listed, and someone here in Rocky Mount looking to move to Charlotte, they can also look on NC Works Online and find employment in Charlotte.
So just to kind of sum it up, so the individual, if an individual on their own, goes to the business and the business has concern because they're a former offender, then the business can call, and talk to you all about that and the protection that they can have if they want to give them a chance.
Sure.
And also the business can contact you and say, hey, we're about to do a project, we want to hire 50 people,
Right.
You will pre-screen, kind of give them 50 people that are pre-screened. I mean, that really is a lot of support, and it should, do a lot to assuage concerns,
Yeah,
or
and
fears
they
people
can,
have.
and they can also search our database themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Independently, and say, we want to interview this person, that person, this person, that person. And so that we can also make arrangements for those people to make connections with the employer. So that before they even start the interview, they know that the applicant pool has the necessary skill set, and they can go through that. And it's up to them. One of the things I want to especially emphasize is that we're offering qualified individuals who happen to have issues in their background that they would like to overcome.
That's a great way of putting it.
So those employers that are seeking skilled labor or skilled or experienced individuals, we're asking them to evaluate the current status of that individual. We know they're going to do a background check. We know that the cost of doing business and liability is there. But these individuals that we deal with, a lot of them go through a great deal of re-educating themselves, redefining themselves. We provide resources at NC Works. There are partners throughout the community that are dealing with this issue on an intense basis. So all of these individuals that we offer, the employers, are simply individuals who we're trying to, direct and focus towards their career set. For an employer's benefit, that saves them a lot of money for having open positions. You were talking about how does it benefit the employer? A lot of employers used to complain, and sometimes still do complain, that they have to leave positions open because the skill set isn't there. They interview, and they don't have a person who has the skill set. And sometimes they use only one disqualifying factor to screen out an individual who might be that person they're looking for, and that's their criminal background.
True.
So, we're saying you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't allow this person to at least make a case for rehabilitation and to offer their skill set to you so that your business can prosper.
Well, and that's a great point, because that is, a lot of it is just a standard process that you run a background check at work and you don't even question it if it comes back with something on it. But in this day and age, especially when you look at the numbers, it's rare that you're going to find a lot of people who hadn't had some kind of run in. And as you said, it's a qualified candidate that happens to have had some issues at some point in time, and that shouldn't completely disqualify them from ever getting a chance. And then we want to make the bigger economic development argument. People are always talking about in our local community, we need to do something to be able to give people who have had some issues in the justice system a chance. And come to find out, there is a very thought out, comprehensive program that exists to do just that. And the reason I want to highlight that, because I'm big about not recreating the wheel. And I think a lot of times that people with the best of intention with things like this, every time you turn around or starting something, when something already exists that they could support. And maybe we could help get the word out, which is what we're doing here today.
And it increases the safety of the community.
Absolutely.
It reduces the tax base, and allows us to be able to use those dollars for education instead of incarceration.
You mean it reduces the burden on the taxpayer?
The burden on the taxpayer. And we're also asking we have to understand that these individuals are not just one individual. They represent their families. So we're asking, fathers and sons and mothers,
absolutely,
to get jobs and so that they can support their children and be more actively involved in kids. If we're successful, you'll see a tremendous change in this community as well as other communities in terms of the crime rate going down, improvement, recruitment of skilled labor elsewhere. A lot of times employers want high skilled laborers, but they need to be able to attract those skilled people to this community. And the only way you're going to do that is to provide a strong base of employees and a larger culture. We got to involve these folks in what progress we make, because we can't allow those amount of folks.
Yes, and the facts are there to bear out everything you just said. When you have a lot of people who are not able to get into the workforce, who may have been in the criminal system, more than likely they will go back. If there are not some avenues for them to be able to find work, and I think this program is a fair program, I would say, and I think it also gives protection to the businesses. And that really is, honestly, if we talk about it, that's probably more the business's concern. The reason you do background checks is because you want to make sure that you're hiring an employee you feel good about hiring. But what you're saying is don't let that disqualify them. We're telling you we'll help protect you from it, but just give them a chance.
And the risk of hiring is understood. But,
absolutely.
But that's with anyone, including the individuals who don't have a background.
And I would just make a point, if it was somebody, the stigmas around different crimes too, I think is what a lot of it is, because how many people out there, if we're honest about it, across all spectrums have gotten to DUIs and things of that nature. And most people wouldn't disqualify them from getting a job.
And a lot of them make just bad choices.
Absolutely. As a lot of human beings make bad choices.
We've all made some bad choices, but we just haven't been caught.
Absolutely. And again, that's a good point. Well, again, just to wrap up, to thank you both. What's the best website or number for a business if they want more information about this before we wrap up?
My number is 977-3306. My extension is 231.
And they can go to NC Works as well?
NC Works.
Okay, and is it just www?
ncworks.gov.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, Victor, and thank you, Sharon. This was a great program, and I hope most of you will go to www.ncworks.gov for more information about this. This matters in the economic development pot. It's a discussion that we have to have, and we are thankful to see that the state sees it as an important initiative to support and offer avenues for people to re-enter the workforce. I'm David Joyner, again, the Vice Chairman for Economic Development for the Rocky Mountain Chamber. We thank you for tuning in to this broadcast, and as always, remember, there's a lot going on. Get involved, go to the Chamber website, and if you're not a Chamber member, reach out and find out about all the benefits of being a part of the Rocky Mountain Chamber. Thank you for tuning in, and here's to success.